You know, what's God's plan and purpose for our life? God tells us that He knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb, that He had a plan for us, a plan and a purpose for us, a plan that was for good and not for disaster, a plan to prosper us, a plan to give us a future, to give us a hope. The book of Proverbs, chapter 19, verse 21, it says, "There are many plans in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord's counsel that will stand." God has God's plan and God's purpose, will prevail. We may have our own thoughts, our own desires of the direction that we want to go. But in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths." That's how we find out what God's plan and purpose is for our life. God's got a purpose and a plan for each and every one of us. But do we know what that purpose is? We say sometimes the thought process of, walking in the will of the Lord or following the Lord, is attending a worship service on a Sunday morning or on a Wednesday afternoon, doing that and then going and living our lives, as we see fit the rest of the week. We may not lose our faith, but what is God's true purpose and plan for our life? Have we sought out? God says to ask and it shall be given when we ask in His will. Ask the Lord and He'll show us. God says when we seek Him diligently, that He'll be found. That He'll come to us and show us the direction we need to go. It says here to acknowledge Him in all our ways and He'll direct our paths. Are we fulfilling? God tells us to seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, to seek to live a righteous life and to seek what His purpose is for our life. And God says then He'll take care of everything else. God says that He can do far greater things in our lives with Him working through us than we can ask or we can imagine. But are we walking in the will of the Lord? Have we found what God's purpose and plan is for our life? By these verses here, I think about these. You try to live my life each and every day by these verses. And also, I made a commitment, as the one that's, running the farm here. I trust in the Lord with all my heart. Lean not on my understanding, but I acknowledge the Lord in all ways and let Him show me the pathway to go. I made a vow to the Lord that I would run this farm by those verses. I live my life there, but, as I'm entrusted with the farm here that God's entrusted this family with and God's put me head of it, that I seek what God's purpose, and that's part of God's plan for my life. But each day we must go see, let God direct our steps. Find out what God's purpose and God's plan for our life is so that we can fulfill and receive the fullness of the Lord